Hey, how's it going? I want to get you started here on coding in Python using the Wing IDE. So very much like what we've done in class. Uh, Hopefully this video helps to remind you how we did this in class. You can set the preference here on the window because the majority of the time, or actually as a matter of fact, when you open Wing for the first time, the screen is white. And so you can change the color scheme or the palette. If you go to edit and then down to preferences, and right here the first thing you'll see is system default color palette, and you can pick the one that you like. I have black background. You click apply and you click OK, and that's what we have here. Now you want to make a new file, so you create a new file and you get these two windows side by side. This is actually a little more convenient now. Actually, you can't see it here, but the Python shell, because I had scrolled it all the way over here. This is more convenient than in class. In class, I have to really maximize this, increase the font here, and it's just not as nice as it is here. Right here on the left side of the screen, this is where we can write our Python files and save them. And then on the right side, we have the Python shell, which is basically where you write code in here, and it runs to what we call the Python interpreter, which changes your written code into commands that the computer understands. And so right here, if you ever want to test something really quick and see if it's going to work, you can do it on the right side here. But if you want to actually write code and save it and use it later on, you would do it on this left side right here. You can also clear options, restart the shell, in case maybe sometimes you run a program that is basically engages in an infinite loop and it doesn't terminate. So you can restart the shell. You can clear anything that's on it. And so let's go ahead and start here. If you install the Pygame successfully, then when you import the Pygame module, then when you execute this line of code here, you should have no issues. You should have no errors. I can execute this. As a matter of fact, I can, but it's gonna prompt me. It's gonna ask me here to save. Now, I'm gonna save it. I recommend that you make a folder, especially if you share your computer with other people within your family. Make a folder for yourself. Maybe you can click here on desktop and make the right click and you can make a new folder. And you click here, folder. I don't like to have too many folders on my desktop. It gets too crowded. I don't like to have them here. So I usually make my folders under this PC and then in documents. And you'll see here, well, these are the folders we have for class. So in the case for this class, I would do 2019 APCSP. And you can make that folder, save it in here. Now we've been working on this SpaceInvaders game. We did the snake game in class. I'm going to start brand new. I don't know where you left off, and whatever progress you had may have stayed back in the computers in class. So let me start brand new. I'm going to do it in steps. Try to explain as much as I can. But I'm going to call this SpaceInvaders. Now, because I already have a SpaceInvaders, I don't want to replace the existing file because I have some code in there that I'm going to reference. So I'll just call it SpaceInvaders from home. Obviously, for you, if you don't have this SpaceInvaders file, which is likely because you very likely didn't save it, you can just put SpaceInvaders. So I'll click save here. And you see when I run this, the only thing that you did was import the Pygame module, and it gives you the version of Pygame that you're running, and there's a print statement from Pygame saying welcome, hello from the Pygame community. So that means that when I install the Pygame, I did so successfully, and it's there, I can use it. If not, there would be an error here that would say something along the lines of Pygame is not recognized. So try that for the very first time. Recall that when we write our code, we want to compartmentalize the code. That means we want to put code within methods, or we'll see classes actually in this game, and that way when we put the code within a method, it's easier to debug. It's easier to work with and manage. So I'm gonna first define a main method, def main. You need to set parentheses there because sometimes methods require parameters. In this case, this method main does not require any. I could give it some, but it doesn't need them. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remind myself, okay, well, if I want to make a window with Pygame, I use this pygame.display.set_mode, and then in parentheses I specify the size of my window. So suppose I want 300 pixels by 300 pixels. That's it within its own set of parentheses. With display, this is how we typically start. And then I'm going to delay for a couple seconds. So delay dot, actually this is from the time. So pygame.time.delay. The amount of seconds you delay for is in milliseconds. So if I do 2000 milliseconds, it corresponds to 2 seconds. And then I do pygame.quit. Now this code right here, if I run this, you're not going to see anything. The reason you don't see anything is because although I've written this code, I've written it inside of the main method. And you basically are telling Python, hey, I want you to make basically 3 lines of code here. Put them in the main method. And then when I need them, I'm going to execute them. And so I do want to execute them. On line 9, notice how it's indented. I want to make sure I'm not indented. And I'm going to write a line here of code that says execute the main method, like that. This is called, we refer to this as calling the main method. We're calling it so that we execute all the code within. This line executes all code in main. Now you should see a window then that is 300 by 300 for 2 seconds, and then the window should go away. And there it is. It's right here. It's black. If you want to increase the size, you can do it here, 500 and 500. And now we have a bigger window, and you can keep going, so on and so forth. Now I'm going to be working with a square window. These two values are always going to be the same, whatever they are. So I'm going to make a variable here called width. I'm going to set it to 500. And I'm just going to replace this with width and width. Now, the nice thing about Wing is that it highlights the variables that all have the same name. That's not true about that's not true of all IDEs. So this is convenient. Now, what I want to do first and foremost is draw a rectangle, because we're going to be doing Space Invaders. We're going to draw little aliens. Now, if I want to show you what that would, where the documentation for some of this stuff is. So if I go here online and I look up Pygame documentation PDF, and I look at this PDF, notice it says right there PDF, so it's a file. This is the documentation associated with Pygame. It's the release is 1.9.2, which happens to be, I believe, when I ran this, it happens to be actually an older version. 1.9.6 is nearer, but I don't suspect there's a whole lot of differences here. Now, we've been using this a lot, so I'm starting to familiarize myself with some of these commands. It is true that I don't know everything about Pygame. That's definitely true, and so just like you, I'm learning as I go. I know it's a convenient module that lets us basically make a program that includes graphics. So I know that there's this command called pygame.draw.rect, short for rectangle. And right here in this documentation, I can see what I need to send to the rect method. It's right there. I need to send it a surface. I need to send it a color. I need to send it the rectangular coordinates, and then the width, which is a little interesting. It says equals 0. Now, if you read a little bit further, it says it draws a rectangular shape on the surface. Okay. The given rectangle is the area of the rectangle. That's interesting. The width argument is the thickness to draw the outer edge of the rectangle, and if the width is set to 0, then the rectangle will be filled in. Keep in mind that surface.fill method works just as well for drawing filled rectangles. Okay, so there's a few notes there. Okay, I think I recall how to do this. The objective here is just to draw one rectangle. Now I'm going to do it before the delay because I want to draw the rectangle, wait 2 seconds, and then quit. Excuse me. So I do pygame.draw.rect. I need to tell it where to draw this on what surface. Now, if I say, okay, I want you to draw it on the window I just drew right here on line 6, because on line 6 we draw a window. Well, this variable when does not exist. I never made it. If I go to line 6 and I say when equals, well, now that variable exists. And that variable, the window now, when, is equal to the surface, the display I made with the dimensions width and width. So I want to draw my rectangle on the window. So you can give it a different name. It doesn't have to be when. It can be window, it could be surface, it could be X, whatever. Then the color. Okay, I'm going to make a color here for the rectangle. I'm going to maybe call it alien, because I'm going to be making alien color. Actually, again, we start this in class. I believe the first alien that we made was the crab. And let me show you what the crab looks like. So if I go up here and I go SpaceInvaders crab, and I click on images, you can see it already, but here it is. This is what we were working on. Now notice you can make this just straight from just drawing rectangles. That's all you need. Now, let me go back to wing here. Crab color. Notice that crab color is a variable that I have not made, which means that I need to make that. And I need to make it before I use it on line 9. So right here on line 7, I would make the variable crab color. They need to match exactly. So if I double click on one, the other one should highlight. I notice I capitalized the C. If they don't match, including the case, okay? It's case sensitive. That means uppercase and lowercase. Then we're going to have issues here. Now with the color, and I've looked this up again in the Pygame documentation, you specify the amount of red, green, and blue RGB that you want. And the values cannot exceed 255. So if I want green, I would just say I want 0 red, I want all green, so as much as I can get, 255, and 0 blue. There is a website that I've mentioned to you in the past in class. It's the website. This is how you write a comment. You put the hashtag or the pound symbol. This is basically a line of code here, line 7, that is ignored. I believe the name of the website was htmlcolorcodes.com. Let's see, I'm going to copy it just so that I know that I didn't remember that incorrectly. I'm going to paste it, htmlcolorcodes.com. Okay, here it is. And okay, got it. And so what you can do here is say you want blue. You click here on blue, and then you click anywhere right here, the shade that you want, maybe a light blue, and it gives you the code that you need, 66, 113, 223. 66 red, 113 green, 223 blue. So you can look up whatever you want. It's really up to you, but I'm going to do green. Now the next thing that we need is the rect, the actual rectangle. Now let me go back to how this works. I'm going to make a variable called the location, lock, and then and size. Obviously I wrote it like this to save myself some typing. The location and size specifies the location of the rectangle. Excuse me. Now when we do location, we want an x and a y coordinate. So say I do something like 100, comma 100. That means that you're going to go x, that's to left and right, x 100 units to the right, and then y, that's up and down, you're going to go 100 units down. Positive, in this case for the screen, is going downward in the y direction. So this is to the right, but this is down. Now this is the coordinates of the top left corner of your rectangle, top left corner. And then what we're going to do is we're going to specify a width. How wide do I want my rectangle? Well, I'm just playing with this right now because all I want is to see a rectangle. I'm going to say that I want the rectangle to be 50 pixels wide by 10 pixels tall. So width, height. I'll write a comment here so you can see what this looks like. So x, y, width, height. I think I spelled height correctly. I don't know. I always mess up. That looks better. Now I'm curious. In any case, so x, y, with height. That's what we have here. X, y, with height. I'm going to take this location and size. I'm going to copy it. Control-C, copies. I'm going to then paste it right here. So that's what we want. I want my rectangle to be filled in. So I'm going to put a 0 here. I believe that should be good. I'm going to test it. So I'm going to run this. And then I see nothing. Now, again, because I've been doing this for a while, I now know that every time that you draw something new on your window, in this case, that's what we've done. We drew a rectangle on the window. Every time you do that, you need to update your display. It doesn't automatically show. So just coding it here, it won't automatically show. What I need to do then afterwards is do pygame.display.update. And then that should take care of it. Let me see. Okay, good. There it is. So that's a green rectangle. That went by a little too fast for you. I can put a 5,000 milliseconds so that it waits 5 seconds before it closes. Good. Now that looks good to me. The objective is going to be to write as many of these as you need. And every time changing these values to get a crab, to get this. Now, what I did right there kind of gives you like maybe this. Now, I'm going to count right now. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. What does it look like? Like 3. Okay, 2, 3, another 2. So that's 5, 7. 7 squares wide by 1 square tall. So what I would do if I want to draw this like little eyebrow, a little forehead of the crab, I would change this to 70 by 10. Okay, that looks good. Now, I did mention that this is the coordinate of the top left corner of the rectangle. So what happens if I increase this 100, I'm going to move, so if I put 150 here, what happens is that I move the rectangle to the right. It's a little hard to tell right now, but it moved. Let me make it be a little more drastic here. I'm going to change it to like 400. There it is. And then if I increase this y coordinate, it's going to move the rectangle further down, 600. Oh, 600 is too big because my window is only 500 by 500. Let's do 300. Now, I want you to understand, I'm going to increase this because I want to make a point. So I'm going to increase the width, the height here to 80. I want you to understand that this coordinate, 400, 300, is the coordinate of the top left corner, right here, this portion of the rectangle. Just that. And so understand this is X and Y is for the top left corner of the rectangle. Now, I was gone for a week before we left. And your job was to write the code to make a minimum of 3 different aliens. The crab is the one we started in class together. And so I did mention here to make it so that we can use these variables that I'm about to write. X is going to be the x coordinate of one of the squares here. So I'm going to start it, I don't know, in the middle. I can change this value. And then y is going to be another x coordinate, 100. And so I can replace this with x and that with y. They're both 100 and 100. Now, I'm going to change this back to 10 because this is the forehead, if you will. 70 by 10. That's what I was looking right here because I counted. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, this might be a little bit more like 4 squares here. It's a little hard to see. Eventually, we'll be able to tell. This is actually 3. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. In any case, 2, 7. Okay. So I'm basically doing in multiples of 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And then only 1 square tall, so that's 10. Now, because I want to make it so that I can increase the size of my crab by changing the value of a single variable, I'm not going to put here 70. Instead, I'm going to put here 7 times a variable called delta. Delta is like a change in something, a difference. And then I'm going to put here 1 times delta. Now, delta is a variable that I have not initialized. Notice how I did initialize x and y. They're both 100. I need to initialize delta. If I run this right now, we're going to get some issues here. You're just going to say name. There's a name error. The name delta is not defined. This is what they mean. I defined y, it's 100. I also defined x, that's 100, but I never defined delta, so I'm going to put here delta equals 10. Now 10 would be the unit of every square. It's a 10 by 10. So if I run this, we're good to go. It shows up. If I later on, if I want to increase the size of the crab, I could just simply increase this to like 20. And it still draws the rectangle as it should, but now it's a bigger rectangle. And so once again, let me show you how we would do this to make the crab, because, well, let's just think of us starting brand new here. And because you're probably barely installing this at home for the first time, let's say I want to draw this right here. This side of next to this, I guess the right eye of the alien. Well, this is 2 squares in length, 10, 20, and it's just 1 square tall, so that's just 10. Actually, I can save myself some work and do this whole area right here. So that's 2 squares and another 2 squares down at the bottom. And so you have to be strategic. I know some students instead kind of painted the whole thing green, and then drew the black squares on top. So it's up to you, but let me do this right here. Well, if I'm going to zoom in a little bit. If this right here, this corner is 100, 100, that means this corner down here, because it's the top left corner, so that's 100, 100. I would have to go to the left delta, or 10 units to the left, so that would be 90. And then I would have to go down another 10 units, so that'd be 110. 90, and then 110. And that would land me right here, and then I can make a block that is 2 squares wide, so 2 times delta, by 2 squares tall, that's also 2 times delta. So let me just say that one more time. 90, 110, and then 2 times delta, 2 times delta. So right here, I'm going to copy these two because I'm going to draw another square here. Let me give myself some space so you can see it. But now I'm going to say, okay, to x, I need to subtract 10, or not 10, because again, I want to make it so that everything stays scaled. If I scale it up or down, the actual size doesn't change. So x minus delta. Now this is not how I went over it in class exactly, so I'm going to actually have to change it, but I want to get the point across here. And then I said I have to go 10 down, so then y plus delta. And I said 2 squares wide, 2 times delta, 2 squares tall, 2 times delta. So the variable location and size is now changed, so that when I draw the rectangle, using the new location and size, it's going to draw a different rectangle. And so you see, there it is. I want to see where we're at with time here. This is a little, it's not as, I'm going to pause. Alrighty, we're at 26 minutes. Your job is going to have to, well, your job is to make the aliens. Some of you already have. It's a shame if they're at school. It really is. That means you're going to have to do it again. But well, the good thing is that you have plenty of time to do this. Now, what I mentioned in class, and I'm going to look at a different one right here, because this is a little easier to kind of see the grid. What I said in class is I said, okay, let's start x and y to be right here. Basically, if you look at this rectangle, you go straight up, and then you go straight this way to the top left corner. So we're going to say, okay, x, we're going to start x and y right here. We're not drawing rectangles here, but we're going to start it here because we're going to use always that same kind of origin, if you will. So suppose this is 100, 100. This is the exact way we did it in class. 100, 100, okay, and I want to draw this rectangle. These three going down. This is how I did it. When I did my crab, I drew these three, and then these two, and then these 5, and then the little antenna, and then these 2, and then this whole thing I drew using one command. This 3 by 4 going down, all of that was one draw rectangle, and then I drew these, so vertically basically. Now if I want to draw this, because that's how I'm going to do it, I'm actually not going to make, next video it's all going to be complete. If I want to draw these, and I'll show you the code in case you want to see it, these 3, well, if x is right here, 100, I would have to go down, and I'm going to count from here. Well, if x is 100, I wouldn't have to go further this way. So I would keep x at 100. Y, though, if I start y at 100, the coordinate of this point with respect to y would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting how many squares I'd have to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd have to go 4 squares down, 4 times delta. And then the width is just 10 by the height is 30, or delta by 3 times delta. And so, yes, I'm going to lose some of this work, but it's okay. Start getting better at this as soon as you feel more comfortable with it. So I'm going to keep x at 100. Y, I'm going to do 140. So I'm going to add plus 4 times delta. I want the width to just be 1 delta, so 10 by the height is 30, 3 squares, so 3 times delta. And if I draw this, I get this. Now, because I don't want to change the x and the y coordinate, those are going to remain unchanged. There's still 100 and 100. I'm going to copy this. Now I'm going to look at the next squares right here. This I need to, okay, that's gone. This right here. To draw this, I need to go 1 square to the left. I'm sorry, 1 square to the right. So that I need to have to go 10 this way. So that's x plus 10. And then I have to go 1, 2, 3 squares down. So that's y plus 3 delta, or y plus 30. And that gives me to this corner right here. And then the width is 10 and the height is 20. And so once again, to x I need to add 10 or delta, and then to y I need to add 30, 3 times delta, and then 10 width and the height 20. And so I'll come in here, because I copied and pasted, I'm going to say, okay, x plus delta, y plus 3 times delta, and then I do want a width of 1 times delta, and then I said I only want 2 squares in height. Let me just look and verify. That's 2. Okay, 2 times delta. That's good. And I'm gonna run this. Good. I'm gonna keep going so you can see it. I might as well just do the whole thing, and then you can well, comment if you want. To draw this right here, I would have to go 1, 2 to the right, so 20 delta. I would not have to go down because it's at the highest point, so I'd keep y, and it would just be 1 square wide by 1 square tall. And so again, I would have to go, I'm going to copy this. Actually, I think it's already still in my clipboard, so if I just do Control V will paste. So plus 2 times delta. And then y, I said I don't want to go down. I want y to be at 100, and then it's a 1 by 1, so 1 by 1. And there's the little antenna. That's good. Now let me show you again. This is going to start taking a little more and more shape. I want to draw this, which is five rectangles, 5 squares going down. I have to go 2 squares to the right and then 2 squares down to get to this corner, top left corner. Again, 2 to the right, 2 down. 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's 2 and 2. I'm going to add 2 times delta to both x and y. I want a width of 10 and a height of 50. So that's 5 times delta. And so I'm going to come in here. Again, I don't have to copy this. It's still there. I haven't copied anything since. So I'm going to Control V will paste. I want to do x plus 2 times delta, y plus 2 times delta, and then I want a width of 1 and a height of 5. So 5 times delta right here. I'm going to run this, and it's starting to once again take shape. It's looking good. Okay, I'm going to paste, and let's look at the next one. Keep clicking on the wrong one here. Now I want to draw this right here. For that, I need to go 1, 2, 3 to the right, 3 to the right, and then just 1 square down because I need to get to the top left corner. So 3 and then 1 down, and then width of, again, of 1, and then a height of 2. So I said I need to go 3 to the right. So to x, I'm going to add plus 3 times delta, and then to y, I said I just want 1 delta going down, 1 in width and 2 in height. Control S saves. Okay, I'm going to do Control S to save, and then you see the little asterisk, it's gone. Every time you make a change, the asterisk shows up. If I play this, okay, it's coming along. That's good. Let me just once again go down here, and I said, okay, well, I went that way. Now I need to go again 1, 2, 3 to the right, but now I'm trying to draw this right here. 3 to the right, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 down. 4 down. So I want to do 3 to the right plus 3 times delta. Notice that they're going to be the same because they're aligned vertically. I want to go 4 down, and I want a height of 2. Notice right here the asterisk. Every time I make a change, the asterisk comes up. So if I do Control S, I save it and I play. Okay, that's good. Now this is, I'm trying to minimize the amount of code. You see already it's getting to be a lot, but that's okay. I'm gonna paste, and this next one I'm gonna draw quite a lot. It's just with one command. I'm gonna go right here. I need to go to the right. I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 gives me right here, and then I need to go 2 down. So to get to this corner, 4 to the right, 2 down, a width of 3, a height of 4. So again, 4 to the right. So I'm going to do x plus 4 times delta. I had already pasted it from before, okay? And then I need to go 2 down, and I want a width of 3 and a height of 4. And there it is. Now, the nice thing, because this is symmetric, if I want to draw all of this, I can actually use the code that I used to draw this, and the only thing that's going to be changing is the x, because again, right here I'd have to go 2 to the right, and to get here I'd have to go more than 2. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. And so it's convenient that I can just actually come in here. This is the body, okay? Think of this as the body. It's the big chunk, 30 by 40. So this is a big chunk. So I'm going to copy everything before that, this right here. All of this. I'm going to copy it. Highlight the whole thing and Control-C copies. And then I'm going to paste it right here. Control-V will paste. Now, it's a little hard to see where I was at. But again, this is the 30 by 40. Okay, so that means I'm starting right here. Now, the first thing I had drawn was this right here. So if I look at this on line 35 and 36, that corresponds to the first thing I drew. Actually, if I run it right now, it's going to be right on top of the previous stuff. It was this right here. So if I want to draw that same, let me run it one more time. If I want to draw that same piece, but over here, I need to move it so many units to the right, which means I need to add 2x plus delta. So once again, line 35 and 36, let me count. To get all the way over here, I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 squares to the right. And so all I have to do is just on line 35 do x plus 10 times delta. And then everything else should remain the same, because I'm not going to move it down or up. And I'm actually going to venture and say that because I drew this and the next thing I drew was this, to draw this I need to go not 10 but 9, one less. And then to draw this I need to go 8, so less than that. And so let me look here if I can just do that here. I'm going to, the next one on line 38 and 39, I'm going to put here a 9 times. And then right here I'm going to put an 8 times. And these two are the same, so 8 times. And then one less would be 7. And one less than that would be, I mean, not one less, because these were both 3 and 3. So they're now both going to be 7 and 7. I'm going to run here to verify this is looking good. There we go. It's nice. And then last but not least, the little, what do you call them? I don't know. The pincers, right? To draw this, I need to go 1, 2, 3 squares to the right, and I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down. So 3 to the right, 7 down, and it's a width of 2, a height of 1. Again, 3 to the right, 7 down. So I'll copy this one right here. 3 to the right, 7 down. I want 2 squares wide, so that's 20 by 1 square tall, that's 1. Nice. And then finally, I'm going to copy this again. And now I know that the only thing I need to change when I paste is the X, because it's going to be at the same Y. It's this right here. These two squares are not any further down or up relative to these two. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right. So I'll put it here as 6. And there you go. Now the reason why I took all these steps, the reason why I put everything in terms of X, Y, and delta, the reason I did that is because if I want to resize my crab, so let's suppose I want to make it smaller, which I would for a Space Invader game. 20 is too much, so like 10. Then it will, when I draw this, it makes it uniformly smaller so that you don't distort the shape of the crab. And let me say 5, for example. That would even be even more, even just smaller than that. And that's what we're going to be doing. I think maybe just, I don't know, it's going to be up to you. It's your game, but 3 maybe looks like a good size. And so there we go. Now you see all this code. This is already too much code in one file. In the next video, we're going to take additional steps here. And we're going to move this code, all of this, maybe not the X and Y and delta, maybe just this. We're going to take all this code and we're going to place it in a separate file. And so anytime that we need to draw an alien, all we need to do is execute this code and we can draw not just one, but multiple aliens. Alrighty, until the next video. Let me pause this.